What's up, guys? Welcome to week number, I believe, 7 or 8 of off-season training. I'm not good with counting. So, after a bit of last week spent diagnosing and kind of finally correcting the hip shift in my squat, things are finally getting better. We chased a couple of things down and through the hips, found that I was moving away from a tight left hip rather than it being the fault of the right hip like I was trying to treat. And so that made some definite improvements. And so on a couple different days of last week, I came in and was working singles, doubles, and triples with 1 to 2 plates, just really trying to fine tune that squat pattern. And we kind of were finding that it was actually more now the fault of my left shoulder, which conspicuously enough was the side that I had torn earlier this year. So did a little bit of soft tissue work in through the pec, the trap, and then a little bit of lat activation prior to squatting, and that started to square things out. So what you're seeing today, a couple different things going on. Last week squatted about 3 times, just trying to get that figured out, and then that was the week prior to this week. And then talked to Tony Harris about some different ways of going about programming. And so what you'll be seeing is Tony's full body type training program. So I'll be running that for the next 5 weeks, basically squatting, benching, and deadlifting every single session that I'm in the gym. So this is kind of a natural progression from what I've been doing for the last 6 months, which is about twice a week on all 3 of the lifts. Before that I was benching twice, but that's not really that big of a deal. It's mostly been in the last 6 months or so that I've been hitting the squat and deadlift twice a week, and that's been going pretty well. Both of those lifts have felt better, aside from the hip shift issues, but technically they're feeling really good on increasing the frequency. So this is kind of the next evolution of that. Kind of how Tony lays it out is I will be working the main squat and bench variations on Monday, and the main deadlift variation on, I guess, Saturday, with how I'm going to schedule it, but it would normally be a Friday. Working 5x5s for the first few weeks, and then drops to 4s, then drops to triples, and basically makes a linear run from 65% up to 85% towards the end of this off-season cycle. So I'm currently in the 2nd week of it right now. You're watching the 1st week, and I was surprised at how not beat up I felt from this kind of training. It's still a little early to tell, but I would never have guessed that squatting, benching, and deadlifting 3 times a week would feel good, and that things, in general are less sore than they were before, and I'm able to warm up into actually lifting probably 20 minutes faster on each session. So really excited to see how this goes. I did make just a couple of modifications to the skeleton of Tony's program, just to utilize some movements that I know will address my main weak points. And so what you're seeing here, what will be pretty consistent throughout this whole 5-week training block, is on Mondays I will be doing just a regular competition style squat in my elevated heel shoes. On Thursdays I will be doing box squats, wide stance without a belt, and in flat shoes, and then I'll be doing a narrow stance front squat, also beltless, on Friday before my main deadlift day. The bench movements also rotate over the course of the week, with a competition bench on Monday, close grip with the same weight on Thursday, and then working an incline bench on Saturday. So getting those as my three main bench variations. Deadlift's going to rotate between sumo block pulls, which I've kind of plugged in for myself to help work the hips, Dimmel deadlifts on the Thursday workout, and then working a 3-inch deficit conventional pull for kind of my main deadlift, and then following that with a rack pull. So I'm going to be getting a lot of posterior chain work over the course of the week. I'll be hitting squatting 3 different ways and 3 different times. I'm going to be hitting good mornings on Monday. I'll be hitting walking lunges on Wednesdays. I'll be hitting rack pulls and deficit deadlifts and front squats on that 3rd day. So lower body's kind of getting hit from all different angles many times a week, and it really feels pretty good. I think this is definitely going to keep everything balanced and kind of being developed consistently across the board, so that I'm not getting stuck with just training one stance width or one grip width or one movement pattern but I'm getting enough variation and it's organized in a way that makes a whole lot of sense. And it seems to work really well for Tony. I don't know if you saw IPF Worlds this last week. Tony totaled 1906, I believe, or 1916 in sleeves as a M2 or M3 lifter, which is absolutely ridiculous. So really glad to have him here for the summer and to get the programming and also technical help from him too. So great opportunity to learn, and I'm definitely enjoying the program so far. So now that I've kind of given you an overview of that, what you're seeing right now are beltless box squats using the wide stance that I used to actually do all of my squatting in back in the day. It definitely took a few sets to get my hips warmed up for those and get them to start feeling fast again, but hitting that wide stance squat after my main squat on Monday, where I'm a bit sore, definitely helps to open the hips back up and keep things from getting tight and imbalanced and painful. So followed the box squats with some walking lunges. I'm doing these with an exaggerated wide stance while I'm stepping out, per the suggestion of John Kinney, my chiropractor, who says that I need to start making my isolateral work complement my actual squat stance. So what I'm doing while walking is trying to actually step outside of the midline of my body into approximately where I would place my feet if I were doing a squat. So those felt pretty good. Definitely got the glutes hit pretty hard. And then on this day here, followed with Dimmel deadlifts, which if you've not done them before, are one of the most awkwardly sexual deadlift variations that you can do. Ended up working 3 sets of 20 here at 185, 205, and 225. What I'll most likely do this following week is start those off at 225 or 205 and then go 205, 225, and 245. So hopefully I did actually end up doing 20. It felt like it in my head, but we all know that I can't count to save my life. On this third day, just 3 sets of 5 on front squats. They're only prescribed to be done at 40%. This is supposed to be kind of a priming exercise for the deadlift, and then also just a recovery session for the squat. As over the course of the training cycle, the volume is going to be primarily on the first and second squat day. So this is to keep you loose and get everything firing correctly for the deadlift. So on this day, I ended up working 5 sets of 5 with 390 pounds off of about a 3-inch deficit. It's a 100-pound plate, so it's just under 3 inches or just at. It doesn't really matter. It's just a decent sized deficit, bigger than the 2 mats that I was pulling off of. Aside from the just extended range of motion, these all moved really well and felt a bit better, or looked a bit better than they felt. Felt like weight just because I'm not used to pulling through that range of motion, but there were no slow points or sticking points in any of the reps, and I managed to keep everything locked in pretty tight. So happy with how those felt. Was able to also hit a pretty massive PR on the rack pulls afterwards, and I worked a set of 5 at I believe 535 pounds, a set of 5 at 625, and then managed to eke out a triple at 700. So I probably won't push the weight up on those. I would like to turn that 700 for 3 into 700 for 5 over the course of the next 5 weeks. And if I hit that early, maybe stand on a mat or 2 and get it to just at the knees instead of slightly above, although they are intentionally slightly above the knees. So the goal with the rack pulls is to condition the upper body and my back into accommodating heavier weight. So I'll be training an extended range of motion and then training a shortened range of motion. That way I'm kind of working both ends of my actual competition pull. Finish that off with some incline bench up to 225 for sets 8. And we also did earlier in the week an upper accessory day. So that day is going to mainly be a shoulder workout, although I will also be hitting some upper back and lats in non-barbell movements. So it's a little bit for recovery, it's a little bit to get some extra volume in on arms, back, and shoulders. Although those are all being hit over the course of the week, I just tend to feel better with my bench training if I keep a little bit of extra bodybuilding type work in for the upper body. And it just kind of helps with recovery, and I enjoy doing a little bit of light pump stuff. So on that day I stay away from barbells, may do like a dumbbell shoulder press, but the rest is a little bit of machine work, a little bit of cable work, and then just getting a nice pump in the arm, since everybody enjoys an arm workout. So that is about it for this week. Was really glad to hit a couple, or hit APR on the rack pulls. Those felt really good, and I'm excited to see where I am at the end of this 5-week training program. So again, thank you to Tony for the help with programming and technique. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and on Snapchat. And as always, be sure to check out the gym's website at www.savagegym.com.